Okay, welcome to this week's podcast. So what's the date today? The date is the 8th of September 2025. And I think last night we just had our lunar eclipse, which was interesting. So Jane and I disappeared for that one over to a high point in Dorset, thinking that we'd be able to see this magnificent lunar eclipse, which we couldn't see because, of course, being UK, it's always cloudy. There were lots of clouds in the way. So we spent rather a long time sat up on top of a very high hill with our kind of our warm coats on, waiting for this eclipse to happen, and didn't get to see it. So hopefully some of you guys that are joining here saw the eclipse. And if you did, it'd be quite interesting to know what you thought, which would be good. So we'll just wait for a few people to get logged in. Jane's going to do a sound check, which will be good. I think Ashley's here. Hi, Ashley. Good to see you. It says 0533. I'm assuming that's not 0533 your time. Probably 5 p.m. our time, or 5:30 our time. Okay, so this week, what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about sleep, basically. So Jane had a chat with Chen this morning, as we do when we do these things on a Monday, and basically kind of go over like a list of different things, topics that we've either talked about before, things that we talked about that people were interested in, or new topics, of course, that have come up in one way or another. So we went through a list, and sleep came out as a good topic that we need to kind of cover or talk about. And of course, we all know that we love sleep. In fact, I think sleep's one of those funny things, isn't it, really, that when you're younger, you kind of brag about how much sleep you don't get. So in your 20s, you go out clubbing and pubbing and enjoying yourself, and you go to work the next day and you say to your fellow colleagues, I was out last night, lots of friends, we did some, went clubbing, pubbing, dancing, and I only got 3 hours sleep. And everyone's like, oh, that's really good. And then when you get to our age, it's sort of mid-50s, it's like, oh, I went to bed last night about 10ish and probably woke up about 7. So effectively, I've got like 9-10 hours sleep or something. So suddenly you start to brag about how much sleep you get, as opposed to how much sleep you don't get when you're younger, which is a sort of funny way around, really. Okay, so Jen's confirming that the sound is good, which is always handy. Always good to do a sound check, because we have done some of these podcasts before where the sound's not been great. And then we find that out. Of course, that makes it a bit more difficult for people to listen to on catch-up, because we are aware that the majority of people that listen to these podcasts do that in catch-up on different things. We're obviously streaming on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, other podcast channels, websites, YouTube, Facebook. So I think these days there just seems to be more and more places that people are looking for content, really. And as a content provider, and certainly from our perspective, Chen's very keen for us to get the message out, or his messages out to people. And that means that we need to find the right platforms, of course, to do that, really. And there seems to be a lot of them. So, and we're hoping, we're trying to keep up. I think TikTok is our next destination that we're looking to start to create some content for. And of course, with TikTok, TikTok's a video-based platform, basically, as opposed to kind of Facebook and Instagram that are more imagery, static, and text and post. So again, it's a different type of content to create, to go on to TikTok and try to get Chen's messages and our sort of spiritual help over to different people. So I think that's the next challenge, really, from our perspective. So this week we're going to talk about sleep and sleep from a spiritual perspective, I guess, really. We all know that we as humans need to sleep. Kind of goes without saying that we have to turn off at some point during the day, get some sleep, which is good. So I think from my perspective, really, if we look at kind of the physical aspects of sleep and the techniques, we all know what we should do if we either don't sleep particularly well, or we're trying to get that balance between sort of being awake, spiritual balance, and certainly for my protection, really, spiritual protection. As we all know, everything that we do always comes back to spiritual protection and sovereignty. It's a continual conversation. So trying to get a good night's sleep means that obviously we need to be in a certain mindset, and we need to be in a certain space. And there's a list of things I think that we think about, or certainly that we think about on a general basis to do that, really. So the first thing for me, really, is the bedroom needs to be a calm environment. We need a kind of bedroom, effectively, that's free from clutter. It's a place with soft tones, natural colours, soft lighting. And also, really, from our perspective, one thing we try and do, and Jane and I have always done actually, is to keep technology out of the bedroom. So we don't have TVs, we don't have radios, we don't have anything that involves technology in the bedroom. Because, of course, if you're going to bed and we're watching TV or watching things or listening to things, then your mind's in that space. Whereas I've always found, for me personally, I generally can sleep quite well anyway, actually, really, if there's no spiritual intervention or interference happening. But going to bed for me is kind of moving to that space that is calm, free of anything, certainly free of noise. And obviously the TV doesn't really kind of provide that. So if you use TVs in your bedroom, it's worth thinking about maybe just don't use them for a bit, just watch TV downstairs. And then when you go to bed, you're kind of moving into that space of calm and trying to create that environment of peace, really. Another thing is obviously scent. We think about scents, we know that lavender and frankincense and some other things, natural scents, organic, natural oils, can help with sleep. So again, there are a lot of sprays on the market these days, and of course you can make your own bedroom sprays. Take some water, maybe some bottled filtered water, put a few drops of incense in there, and you can shake that up and use that as a sort of pillow spray, bedroom spray, keeping that space. Again, smelling in a nice way. Scent helps us to promote peace. And then we think about energy, really. So if we come on to the energetics of creating a calm bedroom, so we think about smudging, or I certainly think about smudging. Again, different things that we can use. You can burn incense, we can use sage, we can use palo santo. And from my perspective, the Tibetan tinctures are always good because obviously it's sound based. So we can go around the room, just use the tinctures to ding together, to use sound to clear negative, stagnant energy from the room. So again, thinking about that space. And if we're going to smudge our space, we may as well smudge the house, really. So when Jane and I do this, I normally wait until Jane goes out, actually, because she's not ever keen on the smell. So when she's disappeared out for a bit, I tend to get the smudge out, palo santo, sage, create a whole load of smoke, open all the windows, open all the doors, and kind of go around the house with a big bowl that I've got that I use, and just basically smoke the house out effectively, just to clear the energy. And the thing is, once you do that, when you come back in, you can feel the difference. That sort of negative, low vibrating, stagnant feel that we all pick up on definitely gets kind of cleared and removed when we sage and smudge our space. So if we're going to do the house, we may as well do the house rather than just the bedroom. Or if other people in the house, might mean that you just do your room. But again, keeping the energy clear in your room. So I tend to open the wardrobe doors. I tend to open any doors in any room that I'm in, so that kind of smoke can go into those rooms. Underneath hanging garments, again, kind of put my little bowl in there, so we let the smoke come up, washes over the clothing. So any negative areas of stagnant energy in your wardrobes, in your room, we just want to think about kind of clearing them, really, from that perspective. I'm just going to say hi to Vanessa, who's joining from the lady who doesn't sleep. This podcast is for you then, Vanessa, really. And perhaps we can use you as the yardstick to put some of these techniques into practice, and then maybe let us know you sleep in a week's time, which will be good. Okay, so sea salt, we know that sea salt is good. Sea salt, again, same type of thing. It disrupts negative energy, clears stagnant, stale energy. So we can sort of sprinkle sea salt around the bedroom. I tend to do it every week. Just fine sea salt that you can buy for, in the UK, it's like 70 or 80 pence. So probably the same sort of cost in the States, maybe 50 cents or something, or maybe $1 even, possibly. But it's very, very cheap to buy fine sea salt, and you can kind of sprinkle that around the room, around the bed. I kind of sprinkle it around the whole house. Obviously, we have carpet in the UK. So and if you stand on the carpet, you can't see or pick up the salt. So I don't kind of sort of sprinkle lots and lots, but just a very kind of sporadic sprinkling, really, of sea salt just helps to clear the field. If you can't do that, if you've got hard floors, maybe you've got wooden floors or something, you can put bowls of sea salt around the rooms. So maybe a bowl of sea salt in different rooms and just leave it there for the week. It will pick up, clear the space, and then you can throw that sea salt out after the week. So that will be quite good. So moving on, so protective visualizations, of course, are good. So before we go to bed, we can visualize ourselves in that golden bubble of light, and we can call in our guides. So I normally go to sleep and put a thought out to Chen and his team to provide some sort of spiritual protection whilst my conscious mind is turning off, and therefore the subconscious is coming online. And I think that's something everybody can do. The minute you get into bed, just a thought to your guide. You don't even need to be able to talk to them because they can hear you. So just that thought, can you protect me from a spiritual perspective whilst I'm asleep, and just kind of guard the room really. And that will invoke them from that perspective. So grounding is obviously good. So again, to get good sleep, we need to be grounded. So placing our sort of bare feet on the earth before bed is always good, or we can visualize grounding roots that come out of our feet and anchor us to Mother Earth to release any excess energy from that perspective. So grounding is something that we should be doing every day, all of the time, and just thinking about when you can, take your shoes off, just stand out on the grass, stand out on the earth. If you're by the beach, obviously you can put your feet in the sea and just ground yourself. Sometimes if it's raining, it's quite nice to stand outside in the rain and just allow yourself to be kind of cleansed and cleared energetically, really, from that perspective. And then we're thinking about, certainly in our rooms, we're thinking about crystals and other types of amulets. Obviously, we make a lot of products. We've got lots of pyramids all over the place and pendants all over the place. So, and crystals too. So we can put crystals like black tourmaline, obsidian, amethyst, selenite, any of these things around the room or around our space, just to help to change that vibration, because we know that everything is vibration. So we're trying to create a place that we sleep with a high vibration, which of course in itself pushes back negativity, pushes back negative energy, pushes back anything that's negative that might come into our space. So using crystals that have a high vibration, obviously will do that for us. And then we can set intentions of gratitude. We can think affirmations, gratitude to our guides, general gratitude to the environment, to the energetics that we live around, to raise our vibration before we go to sleep. Sacred sounds are good, so you can listen to sort of mantras. Some people use binaural beats. I know Tibetan bowls obviously as well. Obviously can change the frequency, just bring in sound for healing really. And then dream journaling is always quite good. Place a piece of paper and a pen by the bed, just record your dreams, and then when you wake up you can start to see if you've got messages either coming in from your subconscious or your guides. This is something we do in one of our protection courses. We encourage people to do a dream journal for the kind of 6 to 8 weeks that the course runs, and then we start to analyze the dreams on weeks or 4 or 5 and start to see if recurrent messages are coming through from either your subconscious higher self or from your spirit guides. So dream journaling is actually quite a good fun thing to do, costs nothing at all. And we all know that when we wake up, we've probably got about 5 seconds, in my case anyway, before that conscious mind kicks in. And as soon as your conscious mind wakes up and your eyes open, that dream is dissipating, really. The subconscious is kind of turning off. The conscious mind is turning on, and we kind of don't have long to get that dream down. But dream journaling is something that's quite good fun and kind of worth doing, really, from that perspective. So I'm just going to say hi to Pink, Miriam and Diana. Good to see you guys on here. So Pink's asking, how does palo santo and sea salt affect psychic abilities? I think, again, they're just clearing tools effectively, Pink, really. Obviously, they change our vibration. Sea salt's really good to keep us clear energetically and pushes back stale negative energy. Palo santo, same sort of thing, or sage. All of these things are just tools that we can use, really. I don't think one particular thing works better than another. In my experience, really, lots of things together tend to work quite well. But it's kind of sleep, trying to keep a protective space in sleep is really important, because obviously we think about kind of feng shui, and feng shui will talk about things like you need to be able to see the door. So if your bed's in a certain position in the bedroom, in theory you should be able to see the door from your bed, and that puts you in a kind of subconscious protective state, so that when you're looking as you're going to bed, if anything comes through the door, certainly from a feng shui angle, you can see what's coming through the door. And in theory your back is always supposed to be at a wall so that nothing can come in from behind you. So there are these kind of subconscious techniques that feng shui and other Eastern teachings talk about in terms of how to get yourself in the right space and place before we sleep. In our case, in our room, Our bedroom is on the side, effectively, so the door is next to me. So Jane used to laugh and say, if anyone ever comes in our room, they come to you first. So it's kind of her way of sort of pushing me into the problem area, effectively. But the door is to my kind of left. But it's quite funny because as I sleep, I normally lie to the left, so I am facing the door, interestingly, now thinking about it. But yeah, obviously the way we sleep, keeping the bedroom in that kind of nice, calm place, calm curtains, again, light, effectively. We probably don't want too much light in the bedroom. We don't particularly have blackout curtains and things in our room. I quite like coming to as the light comes up in the morning, rather than having a sort of pitch black bedroom and then the alarm goes off and suddenly you throw back the curtains and your eyes are kind of met with this bright light. So I think it's probably better, certainly from my perspective, to just slowly come to with natural light, really. And this is the way that we are designed. We are designed to wake up as the sun comes up, and we are kind of designed to go to sleep when it gets dark. So kind of the rhythms, the circadian rhythms are working in line with the planet effectively in that way. So hi to Geraldine, good to see you here. Geraldine's saying that chamomile tea is good, helps with relaxation, calming the nervous system due to its mild sedative qualities. And also wine, of course. We all know that we do have a bit of a liking for wine, and wine can do the same thing, Geraldine. It can put you in that kind of slightly chilled sedative state. Not, of course, that we encourage you guys to drink wine, but it's it's something that is just on the list of things, effectively. There's lots of things, and everyone needs to find what works for them best. I know for me, if I spend all day talking to Chen, channeling Chen, my vibration's very, very high. And if I tried to go to bed in that state, it can be quite difficult. So I know for me, a glass of wine just kind of grounds me, brings me back, sort of chills me out altogether. Well, we're not talking like gallons and gallons and bottles, but effectively a glass of wine certainly I find is quite good for that perspective. But again, it's kind of whatever works for you, really. But as you say, Geraldine, keeping all the tech stuff off, I think, is key. So again, if we're going to bed and your phone's turned on, then the subconscious knows that the phone's turned on. Someone might message you, someone might ring you. We turn our router off at night, so we basically remove all Wi-Fi from the house. Well, certainly our Wi-Fi. Obviously, we do live next to neighbours, and their Wi-Fi is probably on. But our router goes off every night, and then we turn our phones onto airplane mode. So again, in our bedroom, we're trying to create this safe, protective space. There's also EMF blocking, so we're trying to keep all electromagnetic radiation effectively out of the room. And depending where you live, if you live in condos, if you live in flats, if you live in places with lots of people, lots of routers, obviously cities and things, then it might be worth considering finding some sort of Faraday cage that you can sleep within. And these days they're kind of like EMF blocking paint that you can paint onto the walls. There's material that you can buy off of eBay and other places that block electromagnetic radiation, so they block Wi-Fi signals and things. So you can almost kind of put yourself inside a bedroom with a kind of, instead of a mosquito net hanging above you, you actually could put yourself inside a electromagnetic grounding cage that's called a Faraday cage, basically, that blocks any type of EMF. So if you live somewhere with lots of EMF and you think or feel you're struggling with sleep and you might be being affected by Wi-Fi, by radiation, then it's certainly worth considering that. I think these days you can buy curtains as well. You can buy curtains and blinds that also block Wi-Fi, block EMF, electromagnetic radiation. So there's lots of things, I think. When we look at all of those things together and put them into a big bundle, sort of bullet point list, most people can do most of those things for free. So most of those things come with no cost at all. It's just finding a kind of ritual before you go to bed. Some people find start the night, have a bath, so they're warm. Bath's quite relaxing. If you read a book in the bath, I used to read a book in the bath quite often. I'd normally fall asleep, head drops down and the book falls in the water quite often, because a book does that to you as well. It's kind of, the relaxing aspect of reading is really good. And I think it's probably quite underrated these days because most people are using tech, they're using phones and tablets to do that on instead. But there's nothing like a good old-fashioned paperback book that you sit there and the pages get wet and you read in the bath, and then by the time you jump out of the bath, kind of clean your teeth and you're ready for bed, and you've kind of put yourself in that very relaxed state and space. So if we add in and augment, the protective visualizations, connecting to our guides to ask for protection, grounding ourselves, placing crystals around the room, setting those intentions of gratitude and affirmations, then really there should be no reason that we can't sleep. But obviously, some people, one of which is on here, which is Vanessa, who we know obviously very well. She works with us and for us, and she's very good at what she does, but she does have a bit of a sleep problem. So this is the challenge, really, to Vanessa, to see if we can get you to sleep for a week or something, which will be good. Okay, Martha's just joining. So hi, Martha from Texas. Good to have you on here. Okay, so I think we've been through, or certainly I've been through my aspect of sleep, really, and the tools and the techniques that we can use to get that kind of spiritual balance and protection, both consciously and subconsciously. So I think we'll get Chen in to talk about sleep, really, from his perspective. He'll have a very different view, I'm sure, as he generally does, compared to mine, which is good, because it's always good to get the guide's view on things, because obviously they see things in a very different way to us generally. Okay, so I was going to set a timer. Let's go. Bear with me whilst I just, funny enough, Geraldine, chamomile tea is what's in front of me now. This is our cup of, you can't see it actually, but resting, relaxful chamomile tea. Okay, so let's get Chen in, see what he has to say. I'll see you guys in about 35 minutes or so. Take the watch off. Good day to you all. It's my pleasure again to be able to convene in this particular manner and obviously cover this week the concepts and the conversations, of course, around sleep. So as a physical human being, sleep is vitally important to you, not just to get a rest, to have a break from the day, more importantly, really, for your physical anatomy. So all of your cells replicate continually. All of your diseased old cells are being replaced by new, fresh cells. Cells are splitting continually, and this obviously is what ages you. So the aging process, if we think about it, is all about cellular replication. So the slower we replicate the cells, the more healthy cells that we have, the slower we age. And of course, all of you ladies that are listening spend lots of money on various products, generally face and eye based products, to try to at least perceive that you're not aging maybe as fast as you could be. But of course, there are other ways to do this. And the natural ways that we all know of are to effectively live a healthy life. So for drinking at least a litre of water a day, that helps the cells, because every cell has a water component as well as a glucose component and other things. But water in the cells helps to create elasticity. And of course, this means that youthfulness comes too. So drinking water, eating healthily, exercising at times, short amounts of exercise, just some sort of exercise to increase the heart rate, of course, is good. So lots of things that we can do really to slow down the aging process, but sleep is one of the biggest proponents of aging. So when we go to sleep, what we're looking to do from a human perspective is the conscious mind that's awake all day has all of the problems to deal with in your day. When you go to sleep, the conscious mind is being turned off, and the subconscious mind is being not just turned on, it's on all the time anyway, as all of you hypnosis practitioners know. But the subconscious is basically continuing to keep the body alive. It's keeping the heart beating, keeping blood flowing around the system, and it's basically offering a level of spiritual protection, which most people don't really think about or understand, if you like. So when you get into bed, you close your eyes. If you're feeling sleepy, the conscious mind is busy turning off, and then you drop into the sleep state. So your heartbeat starts to drop down, you start to feel rested, and this is when this cellular replication is happening. So your body is basically rebuilding itself. All of the organs are rebuilding themselves in that sleep state. It's very vitally important for your cardiovascular system, your adrenal system, everything, your nervous system, everything is basically replacing itself in your sleep state. Now, of course, if you keep waking up through the night, the conscious mind comes on again. Then you need to use the toilet. So you use the toilet, then you come back to bed. And then, of course, the conscious mind is now thinking. So the ego's in there too. And of course, then you find it more difficult to go back to sleep. And then you're tossing and you're turning from one side to the other. But this is a stressful state, basically, for the consciousness, certainly. And the subconscious is being pushed backwards and backwards. And some people spend all night just tossing, turning, trying to get comfortable, thoughts coming in. So what we need to do is create a state and environment that when we go to bed, as young Andrew said, the bedroom is a calm, comfortable place. The bedding is calm and comfortable. So you do everything you can to support. When you slip into bed, you're already slipping into a changed state, a changed frequency. We're signaling to the mind and the ego, you're going to sleep now, and we're bringing the subconscious online to keep me alive whilst I sleep, and let's just let the body rest and relax. And of course, this is a mental state primarily, because the physical body just does what it does. It's running its program, if you like. It's the mental state that has to change. And the first thing that has to happen is we need to feel safe. So if we go back in time to when humans were running around in loinskins to a certain degree, we think about what was happening in your early history. Everything was fight or flight. The whole human system is designed fight or flight. So you're thinking about protecting yourself, keeping away adversaries, tigers, animals, things that may eat you in the night. So it was all about finding somewhere safe to sleep. And somewhere safe normally meant somewhere, maybe a cave, something that there was only one entrance in. You had your back protected behind you. You only needed to look and think forward. And then you would light a fire or something at the front of you as a protective element. So if we think about what you are and who you are, you're designed to protect and look after and manage yourself from a psychological perspective, as well as a conscious and subconscious perspective. So when you're in your protective cave, if you're feeling protected, the subconscious should be quite happy to take control, to keep the body alive, whilst the conscious mind has its rest. And obviously we then start to replicate the cell, as we talked about earlier. So first thing all of you have to think about is, does my bedroom and my living space offer me protection? So how many doors do I have? How many windows do I have? When I walk into my bedroom, where do I feel exposed? Is there exposure? Do I have people looking at me? Some people these days have huge big glass windows with no coverings, no curtains, no blinds. So they're exposed to everything that looks in. If you live in an urban environment, a city, and you're looking out of the window, whilst the views may be magnificent in the evening with the lights on, from a spiritual perspective, you're extremely exposed to everyone looking in. And from a spiritual perspective, that is a vulnerable place to be, certainly from a subconscious perspective. So just thinking about when you walk into your room, if you lie on your bed this evening, lie there for a few moments and think, how do I now feel? Emotionally, do I feel this is my cave? This is my protected space? Or do I feel uneasy? There's something not quite right in the room. Something feels off. And if something feels off, we need to find the vulnerability. So where is the vulnerability? Is it an energetic vulnerability? So if you have lots of inbuilt wardrobes, maybe, does your mind go to, could someone be in the wardrobe? We all know lots of films, and people watch these films as youngsters and grow up with these films in the subconscious. So when you go to bed, if someone's hiding in the wardrobe, will they pop out in the evening whilst you're asleep? This is a vulnerable feeling. It's a feeling of insecurity, and it's a lack of protection. So if you're someone that worries that someone may be inside a wardrobe or inside a door or behind a door because of films that you've watched, because of media that you've watched, that media has created a fear in your subconscious, and that's there every night. So it might be that you just walk into your room, you open all of the doors, all of the cupboard doors, you just check the space, and then when you lie on your bed, you'll notice that emotional thought is now subsided, you know that there's no one hiding in your wardrobes. There's no one hiding under your bed. Lots of children see programs and films where things come up underneath the bed. And of course, these films may be cartoons, they may be animated films. So they're not really real, but they do stress the subconscious. And then children go to bed needing to have the light on because they're worried about what might be under the bed or what might be in a wardrobe. And this, of course, is a vulnerable state, which we don't wish to have. So if you have children and the children tell you they're scared or frightened at night, then you need to show them under the bed. Get them to climb under the bed to check there's nothing there. Open the wardrobe doors. Show them there's nothing in the wardrobe. This will help them to feel relaxed and protected once they lay on the bed. So once we lie on the bed and we now start to feel protected, we take a few deep breaths and we just clear the energy from inside us, close our eyes. The next thing we should be doing is reaching out psychically. Is there interference? Do I have any spiritual interference around this space? So if you just spend a moment, close your eyes, just feel energetically, almost as though you're sending out feelers, you're sending out waves of energy psychically from yourself to check your space. If something comes back and feels off, or you feel odd, or you have an intrusive thought, then we know that there is something energetically in your space. And that is going to, again, cause you problems whilst you try to find this protected space to sleep in. So at this point, what do? We reach out to our guides. The thought goes out. Even if you don't speak to your guides, they can hear you all the time. A thought goes out. Andrew will say to me, Chen, please clear my space and protect me whilst I sleep. Very simple statement, affirmation. I speak to him. Obviously, we have a two-way engaged telepathic conversation. I say, of course, go to sleep. And that's the end of our conversation. So you can just put the thought out to your guides. Please protect me whilst I sleep. Clear my space. You've now given energetic and spiritual permission to your spirit guides to come in and to clear your space energetically. Some of you are very telepathic and psychic. You may pick up energies during the day. Some of you may have discarnate spirits follow you home. If you live in an urban environment, a city, there's probably a lot of discarnate earthbound spirits walking about that could follow you home, stand next to your bed. You may not perceive them. The room might feel quite cold. You may get goosebumps. But we need to move these energies on, and our guides can do that for us. Or, of course, you can book some type of spiritual clearing or some type of spirit release therapy, and the practitioners that are skilled can do this for you. But keeping your space clear is the number one priority from that perspective. So put the thought out to the guides, clear my space. Now you should be in bed, feeling protected. You've got your back to a wall, back of the cave, as young Andrew says. Now the next thing, of course, is light. So we don't want light. You're programmed with your circadian rhythms to be in flow with the planet's vibratory frequencies and the planet's timing. And of course, light is one of those things. So at night time, you should be closing down. So we want no lights on in the bedroom, or minimal lights if you can. So that, again, light does go through the eyelids. As you know, if you look at a bright light and your eyes are closed, you can still perceive the light. So we want to try and create, again, a dark space, as though you were sleeping outside in that cave. And all you can see is the stars and the magnificent imagery above your head. We want to create a bedroom that has darkness for you to sleep. And again, the least amount of light as possible. And then, of course, at this point, you should now be sliding into sleep state. Sometimes this is a routine. If you're very, very out of your sleep state, you might want to take some type of sleeping medication or natural herb, as young Andrew suggested, such as chamomile, valerian. Some of these types of herbs help you to be sedative in the way they do to get you into a sleeping state. And then once you start to find that sleeping ritual, you can back off of using additional sedatives. But initially they might be quite handy. Or you can obviously use conventional sleeping pharmaceuticals to help you. As you know, pharmaceuticals have their place in everything, so it might be handy to get you into a routine. But what we need to do is do the same thing every night. So try to go to bed at the same time, the same routine, same practice. And then if you've got no light in the room, if the room's quiet, if you live in an urban place and you can hear police cars and ambulances and general chaos outside, it's not very conducive to proper sleep. So you might then want to have some sort of type sleeping device, something that creates white noise or some sort of noise of the beach, of the sea, lapping up around you. Again, a natural sound that is in harmony with who you are and what you are. Go back to the person that's asleep in the cave with the fire. They could be by the beach, so the sea will be lapping up and down in its rhythm, and that rhythm will help your subconscious to block it out and let you sleep. So trying to find, again, the right sounds. Sound is very important after light, from my perspective. So if you live somewhere noisy and chaotic, find some type of sleep device. And of course, these days, all of your technology, your phones and such like, have apps where you can listen to white noise or different sounds, something that's supportive for you. So after we've done light and sound, we should now be in a place of warmth and coldness. Warmth generally supports sleep. This is why people in the past would build fires at the front entrance, not just for protection, as we talked about earlier, but for warmth. If you're very, very cold, it's hard to stay asleep. So again, the human body likes to be warm, not over warm, but just warm. So again, the right amount of sheets and duvets and basically bedding. So think about the bedding that you have. Do you wake up too hot? In which case reduce some. If you wake up cold or with cold feet, then you need to add more sleep sheets, duvets, blankets, anything that goes over you basically that you can shed off. So you want to be in that nice warm place. Again, after we've done the concepts of light, we've talked about sound, we've talked about heat now in terms of warmth, and now we should have created the perfect situation to sleep. So if you've got things on your mind, if you're thinking about work or problems, that's a conscious aspect. But if we get the environment right to start with, we should be able to block those things out. For some people, if you really do struggle to sleep, maybe go a whole night without sleep. So again, as though you were out on the tundra, running around, being chased by huge big animals, and you're completely exhausted. The next night, you should sleep. So sometimes missing a night can be very helpful to re-regulate that ritual. But when you go to sleep, the last thought, again, is a spiritual thought. It's about protection, affirmations with the guides, bringing them in, helping them to relieve or stop any spiritual interference, and also giving them permission to perform interventions on your behalf. If halfway through the night there is some sort of spiritual interference that happens, so your dream state will get manipulated in a negative way. So you might start to have a nightmare, you might start to go through sleep paralysis, these sorts of things. You might have an out-of-body experience. There's a lot changing energetically on the planet currently. So again, just thinking about maintaining that space and trying to keep away from any type of negative control. So giving your guides the opportunity to provide and perform spiritual intervention on your behalf. Then again, we can think about all sorts of other ways that we keep the rooms clear and clean. We can use sea salt, we can use crystals, we can use amulets, we can use other tools, energetic tools, to change the frequency. But the key things really are working with our spiritual team, because when your conscious mind is asleep, your subconscious is running the show, and the subconscious is only going to do what it does to a certain degree, but it can't do certain things for you, which is why you have dreams and nightmares and negative imagery and sleep paralysis, because the subconscious can't really provide intervention in that way. But your guides can, another spirit can. You can put your thought out to myself, Chen. If I start to have a nightmare, or I'm going through some sort of sleep paralysis problem, or you wake up and you notice you're in that state, you can put a thought out, Chen, please provide me with spiritual intervention, and myself or my team will instantly be in your space and we will clear anything negative around you. So we'll start with working with your own guides, because for all of you it's important to connect to your own guides because they're yours. But if your own guides are struggling, or they need training, or they need help, then of course you can reach out to another level up. Myself and my team would be that level. So feel free to put that thought in. And don't think that we're busy. It's not like we don't live in a human way where we're sequential in task. We can do many things at the same time in parallel. So we could be helping people all over the world at the same point in linear time that they're asleep. So don't worry about too much and ask from that requirement perspective. So again, this is where we need to be from a sleeping perspective. We're finding that space. Young Andrew covered very well some other things. So obviously electromagnetic interference is becoming a big problem. Your electromagnetic body, you have an etheric field. All of you have energy. You have vortexes of energy around you. Magnets play a part in your space. If your phones are on or your technology is turned on in the room that you sleep in, they will affect your field. We all know that the field around you is a good 6 foot wide. So if you think of yourself lying in bed, you might be lying next to your wife, your husband, your partner, your children. Both of your fields or all of your fields will intersect together. So if one of you isn't sleeping particularly well, is coming to, turning over, having bad dreams, that of course will overflow into the other people. So again, trying to keep an environment that you all are protected, you're all nurtured, you're all feeling tired, sleepy, but primarily protected from a spiritual perspective. And if we think back in time, many people are coming in with fears of things like spiders. There's a good reason for this. Many people have never had encounters with spiders in this life that have been particularly negative. But there are past lives that you probably have had negative encounters with spiders. Again, if you're afraid of spiders, or you see spiders on your ceiling, spiders in your room, then go and take them out. Treat them well with respect. Place them in a cup. Take them outside. Let them go. Remove spiders from your rooms if, for you, they're a big problem, and they are for many. And again, it's another fear that we're clearing and removing, which allows you into that protected, tired, safe space. So sleep really is about safety of mind. The psychological part of you is turning off, the spiritual part of you is coming on. If you don't feel safe spiritually, this is something you need to look at. For people that have been through negative experiences, maybe some types of abuse, maybe that could be physical, it could be sexual, energetic, anything like that. There can be reasons why you don't feel safe. And this is something you need to address. Maybe put a lock on your door when you go to sleep at night. Just because you live on your own doesn't mean that the spiritual part of you is protected or feels protected. If you lock your door, that's a physical lock. There's a part of your subconscious that will know that you're in a locked space. This provides protection, comes back to the same concept. The back by the wall in the cave. So locking your door, even if you have children in your house, you can still lock your bedroom door, obviously not locking theirs, but you can lock yours without them knowing so that you feel protected and you feel in that nurtured space. So this is where everything comes from our perspective. Any of you that don't sleep, it's a fear connection emotionally from my perspective, and we need to dig down and find out where the fear is, what the emotion is that's connected to the fear, and where that's coming from. But all of the things that we've discussed and talked about are the first things you can do to put yourself in a protected room with a bed, that subconscious part of you, that spiritual part of you feels safe. And if you find the feeling of safety, the feeling of sleep should come quite quickly. So hopefully that answers most of the questions that will have come up this week. Is certainly the important part, certainly from my perspective. And young Andrew did a very grand job earlier of covering off some other things that have been covered from a practical perspective. But certainly from a spiritual perspective and from my perspective as a guide, safety and protection is all about sleep. So if you're not sleeping, you're having problems sleeping, there's a fear and an emotional connection that you need to look at and address. And when you do that, sleep will follow. So I will say good day to you all and bring young Andrew back. And I will look forward immensely to next week's Chen chat. Good day. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm back. So I'm just going to have a quick look through the various comments since I left. Excuse me. So George is here, so it's good. Don't believe anything you're saying right now. Last thanks, Georgie. Good to get your opinion. So who else we looking at? Irene, thanks so much for the hard work you guys do. That's quite okay, Irene. We do that in service to you guys, really. So we're here to help. We're here to provide any information that we can to help people. That's kind of what our mission is, really, and what we do. So good for that. Diana, this subject and topic goes to my heart, which is good, Diana. Hopefully you'll start sleeping tonight. So any of you guys that have listened to this that don't have good sleep, it's kind of worth maybe trying some of these techniques, put them in place, see how you kind of get on. And then if things don't work that well for you, maybe consider why they don't work. If they do work for you, then that'd be quite cool. It'd be good for you to kind of pop a comment in our chat so that we know and we can see some of those things, which would be good. And again, it's kind of everyone thinking about different techniques and different methods to help each other, because we're all basically trying to do the same thing. I think the older you get, the more you like sleep, or the more you look forward to sleep. I know certainly from my perspective, after a kind of busy day, sleep is obviously on the radar quite quickly, really. And then again, there's different ways we can do that, read books and things. But Chen's obviously been through a list. I'm not exactly sure what he's been through because I haven't listened to this as yet, but I will do. So when I go through it, it'll be interesting to see what he has to say, which will be cool. And I think that probably concludes this week, unless any of you have got any other questions that you want to fire at me whilst we're coming to an end. Jane's just saying to Vanessa she'll sleep like a baby tonight. Well, Vanessa, we know, doesn't sleep particularly well, so it'll be really interesting, actually, for Vanessa to take some of these techniques, topics, and ideas, and obviously some of the ideas from Chen, whatever they were, that he gave us, to put them into place and then give us a bit of feedback, let us know how well you sleep. So hopefully sleeping like a baby will be great, because we all look at babies with their legs and arms splayed out, thinking it must be lovely just to turn off with no responsibilities, no problems, and have some sleep, which will be good. Okay, folks, well, thanks for joining. We'll look forward to catching you again next week, and we'll say good day for today.